Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would like to call the January 30th, 2023 Workforce Readiness and Livable Communities Council Committee meeting to order. Members of the public may attend this meeting virtually or through Cisco WebEx events, or the view of the meeting recording by visiting www.tempe.gov.wrlc for more information. It's important to understand that that no formal votes or decisions about the city programs, policies, or budgets will happen here. Our role is to explore various topics with staff and stakeholders and community members to make recommendations to our council colleagues. We want this process to be transparent and inclusive and easy for you to be a part of whenever you choose to be. And you can share your thoughts with us by filling out a comment card about any item on the meeting agenda or by reaching out to us directly with any thoughts, questions, or ideas. We need to fill out a comment card in advance that can be read into the record to be generalized. The link of the comment cards can be found on our committee website at www.tempe.gov/WRLC, and you will also find the contact information for committee members and staff. There is non-agendized questions as well. Now we will review the November 28th, 2022 minutes. Yes. Councilmember Keaton?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I move we approve the November 28th, 2002 committee meeting minutes.
Yes, I second that motion. The November 2022 2022 committee meetings are approved. Now we have moved to the public comments. Is the Rec Meeting Committee welcomes any public comments according to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, that the committee may only discuss matters that's listed on the agenda. Matters brought to us by the public under public appearances that are not listed on the agenda cannot be discussed by the committee. A 3-minute limit per person is in effect. Council Aide, Annie, did we receive any public comment?
We did not, Councilmember Hodge.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I would like to move to our current items and updates. Today, we have a few presentations. Our first presentation is from Colin Diaz, the president of the Tempe Chambers of Commerce. Today, he will discuss the Tempe Chambers does to promote business, growth of business, and help employees' growth in our city. Colin, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you for having me, council members. Hopefully, am I working with you to navigate through slides? Okay. All right, so we can go to the next slide. Just sharing briefly, Tempe Chamber has been around, and the next slide as well, for a little over 115 years. So we look young, but we've been around for quite a while representing business here in Tempe. Like to think of ourselves not just as the voice of business, but a catalyst for economic growth and a champion of strong communities. So it's a great pleasure to work with the city of Tempe on a lot of our initiatives, and I'll go over a few of those. We're a 501c6 that has a 501c3 nonprofit arm as well. And then we also have a partnership with the Arizona Chamber Executives, Western Association of Chamber Executives. We're a member of the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, and then locally, the East Valley Chamber of Commerce Alliance. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, our Tempe Chamber Foundation is comprised of a couple of areas, is driving towards education, economic development, as well as enhancing some of the things that we see in the city. And there are two large projects or programs that we have. There are Tempe Leadership, which we just had an event over the weekend where we saw Councilmember Hodge at for our Tempe Grassroots event. And so Tempe Leadership has an adult program, a Tempe Youth Leadership program, and Tempe Cares, which is really a give back and community improvement day. And then Career Ready Tempe, which is our workforce development youth program where we partner with local high schools and high school students, as well as our employers to move them through workforce readiness and an internship program. Next slide. So in terms of membership benefits, I'll just go through this high level. If I had to boil down the chamber membership to one word, if there was one all-encompassing word, which I will say I don't think there is, but the closest would probably be access. And that looks different to different businesses. So for some, that's advocacy, whether that's speaking at council or representing at the state and federal level. Others, it's visibility or credibility, connections. We try to pride ourselves in being connected throughout the city and the East Valley, member savings, and then branding. Next slide, please. Next slide. In terms of our advocacy, we have education. So we worked very closely with the city during COVID and even coming out of that, and educating on what some of the mandates and policies were, what are some opportunities for businesses, what the law looks like each year locally and at a state and federal level. Civic engagement, and then as you can see, I mentioned a few of these, but the East Valley Chamber of Commerce Alliance, where we serve as one of the board and founding members, work a lot with Dorn Policy Group, and then our government relations and transportation subcommittee meetings, which we have each month to talk about what's going on here locally as well as at the state level. And then our recent State of the City address, which we had with Mayor Corey Woods in December, and our State of the District, which we'll have with Congressman Greg Stanton and others of our local elected officials, and that will be April 5th. Next slide. Next slide as well. In terms of our committees, we have a number of committees, and these, most of them are long-standing, but we do prop some up if there are growing or emerging needs. So our government relations, which I mentioned earlier, we have a Women in Business Committee, our Military Affairs Committee, Sustainability, where we work a lot with the city on some of the sustainability initiatives that they have in place, our Fuel, which is to touch on our young professionals, Business Owners Forum, Economic Development, and then BISC is really the think tank, if you will, for the chamber, where a lot of our programming and new ideas come out of, and our ambassadors, which is a marketing arm for the chamber. Next slide. Thank you. So ribbon cuttings, we love to see businesses that are opening. Obviously, we like to see them sustained, but a few of these photos, and you'll recognize some folks. You see some of our council members in some of these photos, and we love to continue to promote businesses as they open. Next slide. One more. Thank you. And so programs and events on the educational side, our Business Academy, this is something where we have topics that range from social media marketing to finances, positioning, relationship building. So there's a whole host there. Our emerging issues range on topics. We've had supplier diversity. We've had workplace culture. Our mentoring program, where we position folks together to really, as iron sharpens iron, if you will. Our micro-credentialing program, this will be rolling out this year. We're really excited about that. A partnership with Rio Salado College, and it's an opportunity for essentially employees at businesses here in Tempe to uptool. So that if you talk to most businesses, the number one challenge they face right now is finding and retaining a qualified workforce. So between the work with the K through 12 on our workforce development, the micro-credentialing will essentially take entry-level and mid-level employees at companies, uptool them so they can advance within those companies, and those companies could then go and hire for entry-level positions. Recently launched BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, Person of Color, Micro-Manufacturing Grant Program. Thank you to the City of Tempe for securing $300,000 for that, along with Congressman Greg Stanton's office securing $500,000. So the $800,000 in grant is going to micro-manufacturing businesses here in the City of Tempe, which 27 of those businesses have been identified. They were recognized at the Diversity Awards event a couple of weeks ago. And then we'll have a diversity, equity, and inclusion toolkit that'll come out to help with the business community as well. Next slide. So network development, we have our coffee connections and then networking mixers. Besides our ribbon cuttings, we also have our business before and after hours for open to anybody to attend, but an opportunity for businesses to promote themselves, connect with others, and that rotates through the community. Next slide. Sustainability pledge, I won't get into this too much, but For those that are viewing this, if you scan the QR code, there's an opportunity to learn a lot more, but this is our pledge towards sustainability and our partnership with the city and some of our founding partners to really look at how businesses can work with their employees to be a little bit more engaged, cut costs, reduce their carbon footprint, and be better stewards in the community. Next slide. And our signature events, this is essentially a rundown of events that are upcoming or that have taken place. I mentioned our State of the City. We have an economic outlook coming up on February 24th. And our Red, White, and Blue, which is for our Military Affairs Committee, that takes place on March 15th. All of these events that you see on here, you can get information at tempechamber.org. Next slide. And then our partnerships with the city. I mentioned Career Ready Tempe. We're really proud of that program as we're coming into another cohort. City of Tempe, as usual, doesn't want to just do what the state is asking, wants to excel that. So the Achieve 60 here in Tempe is Achieve 65. And so this is part of our efforts to addressing that, working with our school districts here, the business community, and with students. And then Team Tempe, which was comprised a little bit before the pandemic, but really kicked into high gear, helping businesses stay open, which is comprised of Tempe Tourism, Downtown Tempe Authority, the Chamber, and the Economic Development Department from the city. And then lastly, if you go to the next one, as I mentioned, next slide, sorry, the BIPOC micro manufacturing grants. And then the last slide has contact information. So if there's anybody that is viewing this that would like to get a hold of myself, I don't even think I introduced myself. I'm Colin Diaz, President and CEO of the Tempe Chamber. I probably should have started with that, but thank you for the time and opportunity to present today.
Thank you so much. We just wanted to ask you one quick question.
Oh, of course, as many as you'd like.
So, we have businesses, and then Tempe is striving on building more businesses. What is the best way for a small business to get involved if they don't know how or more information? I know you sent your email, but sometimes that's not always the push. So, and how can we as a city of Tempe help with that?
Yep.
To help make sure that we bring businesses to make sure they have that opportunity to work with the chamber also.
Great question. Well, one, besides visiting tempechamber.org, our economic development department here at the city has been phenomenal. We work with them pretty closely. So I can say you can reach out to them or to us. One of the things, I've been here now just under a year and was on a listening tour for most of that time. And you'd be surprised, large business or small business, a lot of the concerns that keep them up at night are very similar. And if those that are listening today, I would say that what you're going through is likely what another business is going through, and whether we can partner you with businesses that are in similar situations or align resources, I would highly encourage you to reach out. I'll speak slowly, but I'll give my phone number as well, which is 480-736-4280. And I'd be more than happy to connect with any business, point them in direction. I'm very fortunate. I've been in multiple communities, and besides the city of Tempe and our educational partners and council, it's a lot of folks that want to see everyone in Tempe win. So don't know if that directly answers the question, but I think the first thing would be to reach out to someone. So whether that's me directly, our team, you can also email at info@tempechamber.org.
Thank you so much. And what I'll do is I'll put it on my website.
Awesome.
And make sure it's out there and in my next newsletter also too.
Perfect. And if there's any businesses listening that would like to meet, please reach out, call in at tempechamber.org, and I'd be happy to come visit you at your business or have you over at our office.
Thank you. Councilmember Keating, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you very much, Mr. Diaz.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Okay. Well, next, I'd like to move on to our next presenter, which is Evelyn Broomfield. Would like to introduce herself to the committee. Evelyn recently joined our City of Tempe as our Youth Climate Action Coordinator. So, Evelyn, are you there?
I am. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh gosh, what a wonderful group. Thank you so much, council members, for inviting me, and super thrilled to follow Tempe Chamber as well because as Councilwoman Hodges noticed, I am a new employee. I've been around for about 4 months, so I'm still learning all of the ins and outs of what the city is doing in all of these ways. So that sustainability slide was very a little familiar, but also very new for me. So my title is Youth Climate Action Coordinator. I am one of the new coordinators in the Office of Sustainability and Resilience. And just to be very, very honest, I love my job title because it means that I get to hang out with today, actually, high schoolers planting pollinators on their campus. I'm going to be helping Tempe High School set up some sustainability initiatives over there. But actually, I would normally have my camera on, but right now I'm actually in the parking lot at McClintock because we're planting pollinators over here. But so for me, it means a lot of youth outreach. I regularly attend our our Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission meetings and support the sustainability arm of what the youth are doing there. And then we are stepping into, again, that high school space, trying to see what the youth want to accomplish while they're in high school. And then the next phase will be going down into, for example, like TD3 or districts. And also really listening to youth voices in how they want to be heard in government decision making and what they are seeing, hearing, and feeling in that sustainability realm. For us, heat is a big issue. And so how does heat affect them? How can we as the city help mitigate sort of those really extreme effects of heat in our city? And obviously that's a citywide and a department-wide goal, but we definitely want to make sure that those youth voices are heard in that respect as well. I'm going to be on the call the whole time, so happy to hang out, listen, answer questions, and yeah, that's kind of who I am.
Well, thank you so much, Evelyn. And it's great because we have the districts here. We have both TD3 and Kyrene. So hearing that
Oh,
you want to
perfect,
go into
perfect.
the next level in the middle school level would be great too. And if there's any way that I can help or anything that I can do to help that process, just please let me know. And I'm glad
Yes,
you're here
yes.
because it is good because we do have next up, just going into the next presentation, I would like to welcome our Superintendent of Tempe Union High School District, Dr. Kevin Mendeville. Today, Dr. Mendeville will discuss Tempe Union High School preparing our students and graduates to be career ready. Dr. Mendeville, I have the esteemed pleasure of actually being on the governing board with Dr. Mendeville in Tempe Union, so I am very proud to have him here. So thank you so much and welcome.
Yes, Council Member Hodge, but she's also my boss, one of my bosses. So thank you, Council Member Hodge and the council for having me present on what we are doing in Tempe Union High School District. And is it Emily Brunfield, the previous?
It's
Emily, right?
Evelyn.
Evelyn, I'm sorry. We
No
have
worries.
not met yet, but we need to talk because we have sustainability issues that I work with my student advisory council to the superintendent group that I'd love to have you involved and more, so we can have more of a coordinated voice along those efforts. So you'll be hearing
Yes,
from me.
I'm familiar with your advisory council. I know one of your students, and yeah, I'm ready to hang out. Definitely ready to partner.
Well, perfect. I'm looking forward to that. You talk about workforce readiness, and this is really timely with the work that we're doing right now in Tempe Union. And I think in order to move to what we're going to be doing in the future, we need to look at what we've just accomplished these past 5 years. And so we just concluded a strategic plan summary with the board on December 14th. And we are providing information with the COVID context because that interrupted our trajectory of progress and learning and just overall educating our kids. We all experienced that interruption. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some of the things I'm going to talk about of our plan objectives, the progress that we believe we achieved, recommendations, and then what's happening right now, because today we just started the first meeting with a large group of stakeholders on the revision of our strategic plan for 23-28. So put it into context, we had a little timeline here. You know, when I became superintendent 5 years ago, we had a normal school environment, whatever normal is for high school, but it certainly wasn't normal in terms of what we saw in 1920 and 2021. We began the school year, we had lots of goals and ambition, and we had accomplishments. And then our learning stopped because of COVID, so we stopped in March like everybody else. That was a big disruption for high schoolers since they look forward to finishing their year off, and that interruption or disruption in their learning ensued in the following year for 2021. All of our focus then shifted on, are we gathering the tools that students need, like laptops, mobile devices? Are they getting food? Are they getting all the basics that they need to achieve and to thrive? And so those 2 years were struggling years. We had the greatest of intentions to do a virtual hybrid learning model, and some liked it and some didn't. But we were the first that I know of a high school district that tried that and did it fairly successfully. Then we returned for the 21-22 school year in person finally. And what we had to do is to teach and reteach and remind our students and our families that there's protocol, there's orderliness, we have to focus on learning. And that took probably 3/4 of the school year last year to get that normal routine going back, and a priority on learning for our students and for our teachers and for our families, to get everybody in that groove. And then this year we started strong, and we're continuing in a strong manner with our teaching and learning. So I'm going to go just our first goal, strategic goal number 1. Now, these were goals that we established. I came into my superintendency 5 years with these goals already set. So we implemented it. And the first goal was that we will work collaboratively to ensure all students learn at high levels. What does that mean? We broke that down into objectives. We pride ourselves with having equitable and challenging learning experiences to make sure that all students are learning, and they have the skills to proceed beyond high school in a variety of successful areas. And then to use data to guide instruction and professional practice. And the third objective was to provide support services that first find the obstacles and reduce those obstacles to learning so that kids have optimal learning opportunities. So what did we selected outcomes for highlights for goal 1 that we achieved, and I'm going to go over those. What I discovered my first year was that, okay, if a teacher that has a unique specialized certification but's housed at one school in our district, just kids in that school were given that opportunity to take that class. And that teacher, that area, like let's say advanced economics or AP chemistry, that teacher then could not teach the entire day because they probably didn't have a full load. Well, now what we've done, we've called them collaborative courses. And so we've set up the infrastructure to have collaborative courses across the district. So students from other schools can take that class, and that teacher can teach all day that same class if he or she wanted to do that. So my point is offering the class to more students across the district. We've celebrated our graduation rates throughout our history in Tempe Union, so we're very proud of that. COVID is going to have a little bit of an impact, but I think we're going to resume back to our improved graduation rates. But we did see improvement yet again in 18-19, and we're waiting on our 22 data. We restructured class periods to include Tier 1 interventions. What we will be taking on for the next cycle of strategic planning is to teach secondary high school teachers on what that looks like. We may ask our elementary sister school districts to help us out with that because they do it actually best. Create district and site ACT action plans. We expanded our online course offerings to provide equity and increased flexibility. The flexibility would be, an example would be that the classes are enduring. So if a student needs more time to finish that class and it ends in December, they can carry forward in January and finish the class. Or if they finish sooner, they can finish that class and start the next class. So we've expanded those course offerings through our Tempe Union Online. And one of the biggest, I think, accomplishments that we did with strategic goal was to get a data warehouse going through Decision Ed. When I arrived, we had great data and some not so great data, but it was scattered all over the place. And so we've organized that in a manner in our data warehouse. So now we have good, clean data that's available for us to make decisions around better student outcomes. And then we developed and implemented a balanced assessment plan so that we have a gauge to understand with the state standards that we are held accountable, how are our students learning and progressing with those state standards each semester. Because if one school is performing over here, and they have to be taking the same assessment so we can have some standardized data. We had a big priority with social emotional needs. So we're using a platform right now, and we've also approved policy around social emotional support using Panorama. And we have full-time social emotional wellness coordinators at our sites. What we're going to continue, or at least what we propose to continue with Goal 1, and I'll speed it up because I think we've got 3 more goals to go here. Councilmember Hodge is giving me the eye. Our master calendar, if you know anything about our master calendar, we work in pieces. So we want to make sure that the master calendar schedule and is focused on student achievement to include credit recovery. So we, as I've said before to a number of audiences, I don't have control of what happens outside our doors or outside our day, but I do have a lot of control of what happens within that time frame. So we've embedded credit recovery and credit advancement classes in the school day, but also we're going to include that in our intersessions when we begin our alternative calendar year next year. We want to develop a student achievement monitoring system to evaluate student progress in the core academic areas. And what I mean by that is that we need to have a deliberate, planned way that we look at our progress in the core academic areas quarterly. And so I will be presenting later on in May or June a plan by which we will be presenting that information for the ensuing years. And then look at grading practices that really measure student proficiency and get away from the archaic ways of grading and look at more of a standards-based, competency-based grading practice. And then increase our leadership capacity through training and mentorship for our leaders. Goal number 2 was all about resources. You know, how are we expending our resources in the manner that's going to be best for all of our students? And equity doesn't mean equal for all. So we have to look at how we're shifting resources to make sure that the students who need those additional resources, whatever they may be defined as being, not just monetary resources, that they are in fact receiving them. I've just mentioned that in Objective A, looking at resources to meet the educational, physical, social, and emotional needs of our students. I think we can go on to the next slide because that'll tie into some of the outcomes. What we did find is that we had targeted support because it's a priority as a district that we look at the whole child. And oftentimes at the high school level, we forget that these bigger bodied kids they're still kids. And so we targeted social emotional support in that area. We have a mentorship program that started this year, actually. We are now officially one-to-one laptop. Our laptop initiative is in full force, so every student has available to them a laptop that they bring to school, and a lot of resources are gathered in that way. a big celebration from a monetary standpoint is that we refinanced our outstanding bonds in September of 2020, which resulted in $3.2 million in savings to our taxpayers. We are very, very proud of that. In addition to that, we received the S&P Global AA stable rating and a Moody's AA1 rating, which is the highest rating afforded to school districts. We're very proud of our fiscal responsibility. For future district planning, focus on goal 2, again, to make sure that resources are distributed appropriately and meeting the future needs of our students and staff. Organize, there's some overlap with this committee, but I think the main goal here is to ensure that resources are being earmarked for the areas that require them the most, and that is for the students that need them the most. We can go on. Strategic goal number 3, we will recruit and retain a highly effective and diverse staff. This is key to us because we want teachers and staff members to look like the kids that we serve. We are very, very proud in the city of Tempe, and certainly in Tempe Union, that we have a very diverse community and diverse schools, all rich with history. So we're very proud of that. So we want to remain competitive to address compensation and policies that affect our recruitment and retention. And I will say very proudly that we are probably number 1 or 2 competing with Phoenix Union, but we have a very, very handsome compensation package for our teachers, compensation and benefit package. So we're proud of that. So we want to recruit the best to come to our district and for them to stay. And then the technology capabilities, we want to make sure that our staff at all levels have the technology for today to do their jobs correctly and efficiently. And then professional development and mentoring opportunities for all employee groups. Particularly, we wanted to have a more emphasis these past 5 years to help our classified employee groups, our bus drivers as an example, our food nutrition folks, our security guards. So we've been coordinating and prioritizing their needs as well to respond to what they need to do their jobs even better as we work towards our students. And then Objective D, to create that culture and climate. If you've looked at our mission, core vision, and values and beliefs, it's very explicit in detail, and that's the expectation that I have. I know that our staff have, our principals and our community, that we do treat one another with dignity, professionalism, and respect as we work together on behalf of our students. And then we want to take away from goal number 3 is to make sure that we are up to par with our competing districts. Chandler is our number 1 competing district, I'll just say that. And we outpace them in a number of areas, and so it's nice to have they are a unified system, but they're our competition, and they know that. So increased online recruiting and advertising exposure. I think oftentimes in education, we don't tout the good things that we do daily, and we need to dig deeper with that to determine what really needs to be exposed with all the good that we are accomplishing at all of our sites. Maintain consistent attrition rates between 8 to 10%. I will tell you that when people come to Tempe Union, they generally stay. If they move, it's generally because of, particularly with COVID, it's because they need to take care of a family member or they need to move closer to home. And if you recall back 9 years ago when the East Valley was just budding in terms of Far East Valley, there was affordability with homes there. And some of our families, our teachers and staff chose to move in those areas. And so they're moving now that the schools and the communities are being built out. But they're returning as well. Same thing with classified staff attrition. Conduct stay surveys and to determine what's important to our staff to keep them. A mission statement was developed by HR, and we just learned that we have approval from the Department of Education for approval of our own Grow Your Own teacher in residency program. We're very proud of that because we think our mission is excellence in teaching and learning, And I think we can do a very good job with that. So we're excited about our Grow Your Own program. We already have a number of folks who are highly interested in that. And then for our teachers, we wanted to make sure and staff, the entire staff, that we implemented wellness apps and services like Talkspace, 98 Degrees, Calm app. Goal 3 recommendations, just complete the teacher retention and recruitment project, develop and implement a full-scale employee induction program. I think that's overlooked oftentimes, to have an appropriate induction program. I just talked about the Grow Your Own teacher program. That'll start next year. Our teacher evaluation tool and process is something we need to look at so it evaluates teachers appropriately and honestly. And then continue to look at the compensation for all positions and supplemental schedules so that we're competitive with our neighboring districts. And finally, strategic goal number 4, because I know that's what you were thinking, we will create and nurture partnerships with the community to support students and staff. We need our community, we need our families. We're all in this together. That whole adage about it takes a village to raise a child, it's absolutely correct when you're in a public education system. But to expand communication strategies to inform our stakeholders, again, promoting the good that we do, celebrate the successes, and collaborate with the community to identify opportunities and resources to meet their social, emotional needs. Parent involvement is always welcome. I think when they get to high school, it kind of stops, but we need to invite our parents back to our high schools and create opportunities for them to be involved. And then community awareness of the district's commitment to diversity and inclusion. We're proud of that, and we want to be able to do that on an ongoing basis. So some of the highlights that the team acknowledged, and this might be considered small for some, but it's huge for us. We did finally transition to Blackboard's mass notification system, which allows us to text to families and to teachers. This is a huge way that we can connect with our families. We hired a social media coordinator to help manage the school web pages and social media accounts. We have tons and tons of them. We created school promotion videos, and we continue to update those for all 5 of our 6 high schools. Desert Vista is the last one that'll be coming out this year. We expanded our partnerships with Tempe Care 7. We're so grateful to have that partnership with Care 7. Our schools now have 2 Care 7 specialists assigned to each of their schools. Use ACT on Facts online suicide prevention and awareness training. All marketing and external materials carefully designed and vetted to showcase the diversity of our staff, our Tempe Union High School District student staff, and the community. And then we have a diversity webpage that's monitored and updated to ensure resources that are current and timely. Some takeaways for future district planning: to separate the social emotional learning and diversity inclusion work and the goals, and we will figure that as we move forward, but to separate that because they are deep in everything that we do. Continue to promote the work of Care 7 and with our external partners, and then celebrate district alumni and progress, because I can tell you everywhere that I go, there's inevitably and invariably a Tempe Union High School District graduate in some position of influence that are doing good for humanity and for our city and for other areas that we all value. Next steps. Today, as I mentioned earlier, was our first meeting for our strategic plan. Excited about that. There was a lot of great energy in the room. We're going to be meeting our stakeholders to develop a portrait of a TUHSD graduate in response to workforce readiness needs. So we will be looking to this group and to also look at Tempe Achieve 65, or did I say that right? Achieve 65? Yes. So we will look at those needs as well and priorities to make sure they're incorporated into our portrait of a student, TUHSD student graduate. We will have in-person and virtual stakeholder meetings so we can gather more input. This is bolded because this is an emphasis for me, for our governing board, and for our community, that we need to focus on improving student outcomes across the board. And you're going to see that more and more in the presentations that happen naturally through our governing board meetings. And then to develop, organize a more robust goal and data tracking system for our data dashboard. And also, because we can do all this, but oftentimes our families don't know what we're doing, so we want to have a very deliberate and specific communication plan to share with families and the community around the next steps and the work that we propose on doing over the next 5 years. Thank you, and I'll take questions if you have any. But I know that was long, I apologize, but we've done so much.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. And yeah, I don't think I have any questions. I just want to let you know that if you need anything to be added, any highlights or anything on that you want Tempe, the city of Tempe to know, I can always put on my website also too.
Okay.
Thank you so much. The next one is Dr. Driscoll from Tempe at Tempe Elementary. Dr. Driscoll, please do not think that you have to be as long at all. But we welcome you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I was looking at the clocks like I didn't have a presentation that long in length.
And that's
so
okay.
I apologize. Well, I'm here first. Thank you for having me. It's the first time I've been in this chamber. And so it is an honor to be here. I'll share a little bit about Tempe L. We've been servicing kids in this community for almost 150 years. And so our partnerships with the city of Tempe and with our community partners abroad is great, and we're just very thankful. We service about 11,000 students in 23 schools and 3 municipalities. And so not only are most of our students in Tempe, 21 of our sites reside in the city of Tempe limits, but we also service students in the town of Guadalupe and the city of Phoenix. With that 11,000 students, 70 to 80% of our students receive free and reduced lunch. The reason why I say approximately that is because over the COVID years, as Dr. Menaville mentioned, we didn't get really accurate data on our free and reduced lunch rate. And that means students that family incomes under 130% of the poverty level. So we have at least about 80% of our students that fall under that. So we have unique needs. To combat that, last year our group went through a strategic planning process. And so we involved community stakeholders, parents, students, teachers to come together to say, hey, what are we looking for our students in TD3 to accomplish when they leave us? And part of that, we created our strategic plan. And so we're in year 1 of that plan. But one of the biggest things that came out of that is our community wants our students to be prepared for college, career, and community, with one of the goals being that our learners leave us with the skills to develop in our community. So we want our students to give back to our community, which is the city of Tempe and our other municipalities. With that, knowing that our students have tremendous needs, we created a position called Director of Wraparound Services. And to date, this position has just started this year. We've had over $300,000 in donations and like supports, services for our students, from mental health to food, hunger, all the way to connecting them with outside resources. And so we're very proud of our community and the partnerships we have, not only with the city of Tempe through Tempe Pre, Care 7, but also through our behavioral health experts out there as well. And so we're constantly looking at providing our students and our families with opportunities and needs to help them better themselves and also better our community. Like I said, I really didn't want to go long. And so
You do not have to go long. This is an introduction. You can always come back and we'll give you the whole hour like Dr. Mendenville for a strategic plan. But at this point, we just really wanted you've done exactly what we wanted you to do, is to introduce yourself and let us know. And I will say the same thing that I said to Tempe Union, is that anything that you need, any partnerships, you make sure that you reach out to myself and Councilmember Keating, because you're underneath our committee. And if you need anything on the website or anything to be promoted, let us know about it. If you want us to show up to some events, we would love. I am an event person. I go to a lot of events. I already go to your events already, but I would love to anymore. So I thank you so much. And you did exactly what I asked you to do. So we want the introduction. So thank you so much for that.
thank you again. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so next on our list is our Kyrene School. Unfortunately, our superintendent could not make it here today, but on that, we like to welcome, we have Chris Herman, who is the CFO And we have our Executive Director of Communications and Marketing, Eric Hem. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Hodge, for having us. This is really important to us because even though our district covers multiple municipalities and serves multiple communities, we are headquartered in Tempe, so Tempe is where our heart is, so we appreciate the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about what's happening now. We just have a couple of really high-level slides about where is the district now and where are we going next. So over the last 18 months, I'm sorry, you can go back. No, it's okay. Over the last 18 months, the superintendent and her leadership team have engaged hundreds of stakeholders in focus groups and then thousands more through surveys on a visioning process that has led to a couple of really critical pieces that are now in place. The first of which is the Kyrene Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Policy, which was adopted by our governing board just last May after all that work with our stakeholders. And equity is something that's been a priority for the district for several years, but this is the first time in our district's history that it has really been codified into policy, that commitment. So it's very exciting. Also on May 24th, this was a big board meeting for us, the board adopted the Portrait of a Kyrene Kid. A lot of K-12 districts, as you heard from Tempe Union, have a portrait of a graduate. So for us, the Portrait of a Kyrene Kid is where do we want them to be in their education when they leave us in 8th grade and go on to high school, college, career, and beyond. And you can see the portrait on this screen. It's not which books have they read, which level of math proficiency have they reached. It's the skills and the traits that they need to learn anything and to contribute to their community in the future. So these two pieces, the equity policy and the Portrait of a Kyrene Kid, are cornerstones now for the district's next strategic plan. And that is the work that is in front of the board and the district leadership team for 2023. The governing board has already adopted a Kyrene Promise, which is essentially our new vision and mission, as well as key values for Kyrene, and those will roll out simultaneously with the strategic plan. The goal is to roll that out in May, and we would love to come back after that time and give a detailed presentation about what is in that strategic plan. But what's happening right now at the district is that leadership from every single school and every single district department are working together in collaboration to identify the strategies, the specific strategies under the goals that have been set by the governing board. Once they have done that work, we'll make it look pretty, and then we'll bring it to our governing board for final adoption, hopefully in May. Of course, the other big thing that is brand new this month, as we have just welcomed a new member to our governing board, Trina Nelson, who replaces outgoing board member Margaret Pratt. And we are very fortunate to have such a strong and collaborative governing board in Kyrene, and board member Nelson will be such an excellent addition to that. And then always on the board's plate, of course, is the budget. And so that is what Mr. Herman's going to talk about.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Normally, budgets don't get a whole lot of excitement around being super interesting, but we wanted to share with you some information about our budget annual report that we've done at Kyrene. We've done this report now for 3 years. There's a lot of things in the world of school finance that are required submissions. This is optional. We do this because we feel like it's the right thing to do for our community. So we've done it for 3 years. This past year, we've completed a lot of the information that ASBO International would put in their criteria for best practices, really the gold standard for how do you share budget information. And so we applied for their award. We received their MBA award, which is the highest award that they give for any government entity. But in the area of school districts, only about 131 school districts nationally received that award back in 21 and 22. So we're very excited about that. Why is this important? Well, this is really for our community, and we've had a lot of support from our local community on supporting bonds and overrides. And if you know anything about school finance, you cannot do the things that we do in Kyrene for our students without the support of our community. And that's what this report really is about, everything in our budget, how it comes together, who we are as a district, where that money is spent, what our priorities are. It's 148 pages of the best budget information you may ever want to read. But if you don't and want to scan through it, that QR code can get you to some highlights. But really, this is for our community because of all the things that they do for us. We just have a few things we wanted to mention for partnerships that we do with Tempe. I'm part of the technical advisory group with the city. I've been on that for several months. We're fortunate to be able to be a partner with that on how the city is looking to grow economically, and we're happy that they include school districts in those conversations. And I'll let Aaron speak to the rest of the things on this list.
We're proud to partner with Tempe on multiple levels, both within the city and then other organizations within Tempe as well. We've done a lot of work recently with Tempe Coalition. Even though we are K-8 district, all of the issues that affect students today, whether it is drugs or alcohol, all the scary things that are out there are affecting young children as well. So the coalition came in recently and trained all of our administrators on how to administer Narcan in an emergency. We now have Narcan in all of our schools because of that training and that partnership. They also came in as part of our positive parenting series to educate our parents on things they need to know about narcotics and other risky behaviors confronting children. So we really appreciate their partnership there. We're really proud to be able to put students forward for their Celebrating Champions for Youth. Also, with the City of Tempe, the Youth Fest Courage Awards, both of those programs that recognize our students who really deserve recognition. We're just really proud to be able to participate in that, and we appreciate those opportunities. We've also been a member of the Tempe Chamber for 35 years, and then separate from the city, but also part of its heart, is the Tempe Diablos, who we partner with for excellence in education, and we're just so proud to be part of the community.
Thank you so much. Just want to make sure that I say it again, that I am a partner, and if you need anything or, any kind of thing to put on my website, I would love to. You already invite me to certain things and I do come, but I'm happy to do any kind of commitments or meetings or anything so they can get to know me. And as you said, we are partners. You're part of Tempe, you're part of our family. So, and we as a city of Tempe, we adopt Albuquerque. So we already do it for Tempe Union. There's no difference for Kyrene. On that, I also want to talk to Chris is right there. Chris, I also want to put a part of my website to start putting their information up. So maybe Miki, you could help me with that, to add your information so that I can add your budget and that code in there. So if they want to go in and they can look at it, I can have a little piece of my website that shows all the education parts of the school districts. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you back in May. At this, finally, I'd like to discuss what we discussed briefly with Councilmember Keating regarding the finding a permanent funding for Tempe Pre at our recent Tempe work study. So all council members reached a consensus that we're going to make it a priority for supplement funding for our beloved program is a must. So I would like to bring up to the podium our welcome, including Naomi. Are you guys speaking tonight? No, they're not. Oh, okay. Well, just wanted to tell you. I guess that's just for me to. Huh? No, it doesn't. Maybe I should. Councilmember Keating, do you have anything to say on this, on the update? I think it is supposed to be you.
No, I wasn't aware we were discussing pre.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. There's nothing on there. It's just, I guess we're just updating information.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think you said it right. The council agreed to
Yes.
make it a priority in the supplemental budget to fund it for the next 2 years, I believe. And we continue to look for we are going to have some sort of permanent funding solution in place before this additional monies that we've just allotted run out.
Yes, I think I'm a full agreement. And, I think that your counsel, she wanted you to say that because, this has been something that you have championed and your heart has been in it. And for you to say something about it out in the committee is very important, to not only to her, but to me also. So we needed for you to say that. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to. I'll speak as long as you guys want. I mean, not as long as Dr. Mendeville, but
please.
I can go on.
No, we don't have enough coffee or we don't have enough room for today to talk as long as Dr. Mendeville did for us. Thank you.
And I just want to make sure the good doctor knows I'm just kidding, of course.
Yes, we know.
Was
could
very
tease
thorough
him.
and informational.
Yes, we could tease Dr. Mendeville. I kind of know some of his bosses, so we're okay.
Right.
All right, so I want to thank you on that. Thank you for all the presentations today, for everybody listening to our Workforce Ready and Livable Communities meeting. Also, we want to talk about what is up next. Do we have, I think I missed something. I'm sorry if I apologize. I did. We did that. Our next item is what's going to be on our next Rex meeting. So, Councilmember Keating, do you have anything that you want to add as our next item for consideration?
Yes, I have something for February and I have something for March.
Okay.
In February, I would like to talk about forced arbitration agreements in the city of Tempe, as far as the legality around one, essentially making them not allowed in the city. And I know that staff, at least Annie, and I'm sure CPAN's part of this as well, are in discussions with legal staff on it. So there's some sort of presentation from our legal team on what banning forced arbitration agreements would look like in the city, if we even have that authority. Of course, I don't know at this time. So I would definitely like to discuss that in February. And then in March, a group reached out to me called Home Arizona, and essentially it's a group trying to bring down the price of housing statewide, and they're trying to get in front of different municipal bodies to kind of talk about their approach and their strategies, and how they can be a partner here in Tempe to increase housing affordability. So that would be for March, and then forced arbitration agreements would be for February. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have three, and it can be between February and March also. My first one, I have a presentation from Kristen Gwynn, who's our animal welfare specialist. She wants to introduce herself and let us know more about what's going on in her world. And second, I would like to ask for a presentation from Naomi Farrell, Marie Raymond, and their team, updating us on the partnership of the City of Tempe and our Arizona at Work Maricopa County Youth Workforce Development. And I apologize. I thought about that, and that came to mind today. So I'm like, okay, I'm pushing ahead on the committee, but that is for the next time around. And the third thing is a presentation from Abe McCain, who is our Veterans Affair Coordinator. Give a presentation what's going on in the veterans and what is he doing in a part of the veterans community, and also the workup on what's going to happen with Tempe Salutes coming up in a couple of months. So all that to be discussed. So I think that's all we have. Do
Yeah,
we have
that
any
all sounds
announcements?
great.
Yes, I know we have some great topics. Do we have any announcements, Council Member Keaton?
No, I mean, this is our first meeting of the new year, so I just want to wish everybody a happy new year and a good 2023. And I know we're going to have a good year here at the city. So, with that, I mean, I'm ready to adjourn whenever you are.
I am ready to adjourn. Our next meeting is February 27th, 2023. And also, I can ask you for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Okay, and I second it. Thank you so much. And we finished exactly 4 o'clock, so I'm proud of that. All right. You guys have a
Have a good
wonderful
one.
day.